Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Rivalz podcast, the show where two friends who are fans of rival teams talk about sports. We're your hosts, Drew and Noah, and today we'll be going through a few of the AFC side of the free agency this year in the NFL, and at the end we'll do a little fun discussion about the Patriots and Vikings free agency. So, this is our episode for today. And our schedule coming on screen, like usual.
We have
we'll do different JJ Watt landing spots. It's a huge topic.
Yeah, just
agency, Patriots, Vikings brief discussion. We'll talk about it in our next episode when we do the whole NFC side, but we're gonna briefly do it.
Yeah,
today.
This is part one of our I guess you could call it a series. It's part one, part two. This is top 3 landing spots, top 3 players for every team that they could sign in free agency. So we're gonna start things off. We're gonna go through JJ Watt. I think everyone knows this. Be huge news around the league. We have JJ Watt landing getting released. By the Houston Texans. So. Yeah, here, Drew. How about you start us out with your opinion?
Yeah, and I'm thankful that the Packers are one of the options that he is willing to go to. There's not many teams who he's willing to go to. All of them are playoff contenders, and if he joins any of them, probably the least would be the Patriots. I'll start off with them. If he goes to the Patriots, I wouldn't want to say the Patriots will be automatic Super Bowl contenders, but they'll be better than this year. Because his presence, he's one of the best defenders in football, one of the best players in football. And if he's under the leadership of Bill Belichick, that defense could be electric like it was past years. And so that's one destination spot he could go to. And we have the Steelers. Obviously, not a name too many people are mentioning for him to go to. Obviously, his brother's there. Both of his brothers, which would be insane to have 3 brothers on the same team. That would be the first time ever.
Yeah, that would be amazing, actually.
So, Steelers, don't get your hopes up. I'd say the same about the Browns. I wouldn't really see him going to the Browns. But he could,
This is all speculation. There's nothing. It's not like he's said.
These are the only teams. We're sure it's these teams, but it's all speculation from there.
Yeah, JJ Watt hasn't completely said that.
We have the last 3 teams. The last 3 teams here are probably the top 3. They're the front runners. Where recently, in the last day or two, Titans weren't there a week ago when this all became huge news, because now the Titans seemed interest. I've been in contact with JJ Watt, obviously, trying to sign him. So, no, that's one team of the 2.
Yeah.
And then the 2 others are the Bills and Packers. If he goes to the Bills, that's like cherry on top for the Bills. Their defense, they couldn't get any pressure on anybody this year. The offense saved them in most games. So you put JJ Watt on that Bills team, they're just going to excel even more. They'll be a Super Bowl contender yet again this next year. And the final team, obviously the most likely, would be the Packers, because here's why I say most likely. There's more reasons than not for the Packers than any other team. 1, JJ Watt went to Wisconsin University, and honestly, they're a while away from Lambeau. So hometown team a little bit. Other reasons include Packers, obviously, pretty good coach in Matt LaFleur. His defense they've been improving. He'd be on a Super Bowl contender. Probably Packers would be yet again one of the best teams in the NFC if he goes.
Okay. We don't have to hear about you saying how good J.J. Watt would be on your team and how he should go there, blah, blah, blah.
He's not going to the Vikings, so
I know he's not going to the Vikings. But here's what I think. Hold on. Yes. I want to give my opinion on these teams. So, I'm going to start from who I don't think he'll go to who I think he will. So I'm starting off, I don't think he'll go to the Steelers. I just think, like you said, don't get your hopes up, Steelers fans. J.J. Watt, it's talks, but I just don't see him in a Steelers jersey just because, I don't think he hasn't shown any interest in them at all. And I don't know if it would be cool to see him with all of his brothers, but yeah, I don't know. Sometimes having a lot of family on your team is sometimes a little bit it doesn't work out sometimes because in the NBA, here's an example. We have in the off season.
If he went to Pittsburgh, that would be they already have T.J. Watt and Cameron Hayward.
Yeah,
the other young guys.
So what I'm saying also, and an example of a whole family thing is when in basketball, Austin Rivers was going to go to the 76ers in free agency, but his dad told the 76ers not to, his dad's the head coach, Doc River, of the 76ers, and he said not to sign him because he progressed better when he wasn't around family, which is pretty interesting. So I don't know, that's for just...
Obviously you've seen McCourty's around the other sport, NFL. McCourty brothers, obviously. Jason and Devin, obviously, since both have been together, they haven't exactly been the same. There's been a little struggle with Jason,
yeah, and also we have the next team. Yes. We have the Browns. The Browns. It would be an amazing pickup for the Browns if this happened because, their defensive side is already pretty good. Not amazing, but it's pretty good. And if they can pick up a pass rush, they haven't had much pass rush this season. I mean, I just think J.J. Watt would bring a lot to that team. Don't see it happening as much though. I'm gonna go briefly through these. Titans just came up. Could maybe happen. I don't know. It really depends on just. It's hard to know. When speculation comes up like this, it's hard to know who someone would go to because of the you can't see in someone's head. It's really about the player's opinion.
This is what happened a few weeks ago with the Matthew Stafford. It was all speculation. We didn't know exactly where he was going. There's no way to possibly know exactly what the one team is. But yeah, that's why that's why there's these few teams, and we're able to.
Yeah, and a lot of these teams are just because J.J. Watt hasn't vocally said that any of these teams would be a great fit for him. We're just saying this because he would be great fits on this team, or they have the cat salary.
Organization plays a big part. He left the Texans because of the organization.
Yeah, I don't think he would have left the Texans if they didn't. You know what they've done.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And so that gives it to the top three teams who I think he'll go to is Patriots, Bills, and Packers. But I think the team I see him going to most is probably the Patriots, and I'll tell you why. I think that Bill Belichick will be able to. Just the Patriots organization has always been a good organization. I guess you could say they've had, their scandals and stuff, but they can lure free agents to their team. And if J.J. Watt comes on that defense, I think the Patriots could. I think they'd instantly make the playoffs. I don't think they'd be Super Bowl contenders. I think they'd make wild card, maybe win wild card, but at most lose in divisional. But
yes.
Yeah, the Packers, I just don't see them going. I'm just saying this because I'm a Vikings fan. I'm just gonna say it. I don't want him to go to the Packers. That would be the worst thing I've ever. I don't want to play against J.J. Watt every single season, but okay. let's move on to the teams and their top 3 free agents that they should target. Okay.
So we'll go with the AFC. All the teams in the AFC. This will be part 1.
Yeah.
We'll do a part
2. Probably. We can't. We're not going to be able to post next week, so we're going to have to do it the week
2
after.
weeks from today. But so AFC will start with the North, going from top to bottom. Ravens. They're obviously we'll say their team needs, and then it's speculation of who they're going to sign. Let's give a little disclaimer before we go into this. We should have given this before JJ Watt, but kind of said about it. This is all speculation. Our past few videos have really been speculation and this because there's no way of knowing exactly what's going in their heads. I noticed that.
So these are just based on who would be a good fit for their team.
It's all logical guessing, and if we're right, great. But if we're wrong, great as well. So
yeah, we've had our fair share of wrong predictions.
The Ravens, their team needs are. This is what we're sure of, though. Their team needs are wide receiver, their guards, their free safeties, and the edge defenders. So.
Yeah, they really took a hit with Marshall Yanda retiring. So.
Yeah, and also, first of all, we're going to do signings and re-signings, franchise tag, all that in this video, but someone they need to re-sign, this would be huge to re-sign. They needed to re-sign Matthew Judon because Pro Bowler for a second straight year. Wasn't showing much before, and now he's a stud. So you need to re-sign him if you're off, and you need a pass rush. And if he's gone, Calais Campbell can't be your only pass rush.
Yeah, and they're gonna and Ngakoue's on a contract year. Judon's on a contract year. They gotta pick someone to re-sign, and we really think that Matthew Judon would be their pick. Ngakoue just got traded to the Ravens this year from my Vikings, and I would very rather prefer Matthew Judon than him. So yeah, I think that would be the smart option.
We're between re-signing if the Ravens should re-sign Ngakoue or Judon, and if you really had to pick, the Ravens would probably have to go with Judon because of the success in recent years.
Okay. So now, moving on to a wide
veteran wide receivers.
Obviously,
these would be reasonable wide receivers they could sign. That they need to sign them.
Yeah, they need help at wide receiver position.
Here's why we could have gone with defense, safeties, the edge, another guy to help Matthew Judon out, and Calais Campbell. We didn't go with that because you see the young talent. The reason the Ravens might need safeties, cornerbacks, edge, they're all young guys, and you need a little bit of experience, but something they need a lot of, no matter young or old, is the receiving core.
Yeah, their receiving core right now is decent, but nothing special. They have Willie Snead, and their top 2 receivers right now are Willie Snead and Marquise Brown. And you've seen that a lot of the Ravens' passing game goes to their tight ends, Mark Andrews and I'm blanking on the name.
As a guide.
Yeah.
Their true number 1 wide receiver, Marquise Brown. He's been really good, decent, most in his first 2 years, but you need other receivers.
Yeah, you need a threat. You need a threat that has good hands and can pretty tall, maybe tall, good hands. Yeah. Can make some.
Yeah. And there's a lot of free agent wide receivers. This is one of the biggest years for free agent wide receivers in quarterbacks. But the wide receivers we came up with would be Sammy Watkins and AJ Green, both veterans. AJ Green, his hamstring tear a few years ago really tore him down, and he hasn't been good since. He's been terrible most of the part.
But just to have that better
he hasn't had quarterback play at all. Andy Dalton can't be your quarterback for 4 or 5 years and do the same thing where he's mediocre. That's why. But if you put Lamar Jackson and put AJ Green as a second option, that's perfect.
Yeah. Sammy. So.
And if you want a fast option,
we have
not just like a second look guy, a fast option as well, you go Sammy Watkins.
Sammy Watkins we picked him because Sammy Watkins he's been a solidified, throughout his career, he hasn't been great, he hasn't been bad, he's always been just average, like decent, solid wide receiver to have on your team. He's been with the Chiefs for a pretty long time, and before Tyreek Hill was the Tyreek Hill that was just like getting 200 yards and a half. He was a legitimate option, and he still is a legitimate option for them to pass to. And right now, I think Sammy Watkins will leave the Chiefs just because his targets have been going down more and more because Mecole Hardman, Tyreek Hill, Travis Kelce, they already have a lot of good receiving threats. But with the Ravens, I think Sammy Watkins could be a really good, pair with Marquise Brown. Marquise Brown has good speed. Sammy Watkins has good speed. Both of them, he could be a mentor to Marquise Brown as well.
And it would just be amazing if they're more likely to sign one or the other. And you may be asking, Bruno, why aren't you putting like Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones, the pair from Detroit, or even Will Fuller? The Ravens, for one, their cap space isn't what you call like huge. It's lower. So they wouldn't really sign I wouldn't see them going out and signing Will Fuller or really Golladay. Marvin Jones possibly, but they need like an experienced, tall receiver who's able to get dirty on the field and catch the ball. So that's the Ravens. They need to sign. Those are the three guys they need to sign this offseason. And the next AFC North team, the division winner this year, is the Pittsburgh Steelers. And we'll just start off by saying there are three players that they really need who are big name guys. Two of them are big name guys, the other not as much, but Alex Mack from the Falcons, their center. He's a Pro Bowler, all pro talent. And J.J. Watt, obviously Steelers are one of the options. And Jacoby Brissett. We'll go deep into why they could sign Jacoby Brissett, but first off, Alex Mack, Pouncey just retired. Him and his brother just retired. So one of the best. He might be the best center. He was the best center in football for 12 years. Now he retires. There's a hole in that position for the Steelers, and they need someone to fill in the shoes because Steelers were getting heavy pass rush when Pouncey was out every single time. So that's why Alex Mack and J.J. Watt.
We kind of already went over it, mostly. We had a huge segment on it, so I'd say let's go straight into Jacoby Brissett. Some people would say, Jacoby Brissett, why would you put him? He's been such a he hasn't played for the Colts in a little bit since Phillip Rivers signed. And they already have Big Ben. Well, word has come out in some places that the Steelers might not want to continue with Big Ben moving on from here.
Yeah, and the answer isn't Dwayne Haskins.
Yeah, the answer definitely isn't Dwayne Haskins.
If Roethlisberger, he's not going to probably retire this offseason, but say midseason he gets hurt or struggles, something, retires after next season. We're talking about going in the future as well. You'd need a QB battle, and that would be perfect between Brissett and Haskins.
Yeah, they're not young. Well, Dwayne Haskins is very young, but Jacoby Brissett isn't crazy young, but he's a pretty young quarterback. He could.
And you've looked at Brissett's been under the leadership of Andrew Luck and Tom Brady as their backup.
Yeah, and Phillip Rivers too.
Yeah, so he has the ability to be a starter.
He has veteran experience in the league. He can show Dwayne Haskins how to, he can show him the ropes. And also, Jacoby Brissett's we've seen what he can do. When he was on the Colts for that stretch,
he was decent after Luck retired as a backup QB who suddenly had to carry the franchise for a whole year.
Yeah. he was really decent. There was a few highlight plays he had, and he showed tremendous potential to take it to the next level. So I really think the Pittsburgh Steelers have a good chance of signing Jacoby Brissett. So, yeah, that should be it for the Steelers.
Yeah, we'll go through the last AFC North teams. Obviously, these ones aren't as big. So, the ones that aren't as big, teams who are going to be big signers, and people are going to sign this offseason, we'll just briefly go through them. Obviously, Browns, they're not big on signings this offseason expected, but they're expected to sign a few guys, especially with the cap going down. So, they need to, for one, here's 3 points. One, they need to re-sign Olivier Vernon. He missed the whole year, and he's a really good player. He used to play for the Giants, if you didn't know. And you just need him.
Yeah, great pass rusher.
Veteran talent. And another veteran talent, KJ Wright. KJ Wright, this one is just complete speculation, because KJ Wright is expected to sign back with the Steelers and continue his career with the Steelers his last few years.
Seahawks?
But if...
Seahawks?
No, Seahawks, excuse me. But if he chooses not to sign with the Seahawks, again, he could easily go to the Browns.
Yeah, the KJ Wright would be good presence on the defensive end, or defensive side, I mean. The Browns have a lot of... they don't have a lot of talent, but they have some talent on the defensive end. And KJ Wright could really bring a spark to them, as he's been the Steelers. Why do I keep saying Steelers instead of Seahawks? He's been the Seahawks linebacker for the past, I don't even know, like 10 years maybe. But yeah, he's probably gonna continue his career with the Seahawks, but KJ Wright could sign with the Browns.
The last player here that the Browns need to sign, if they're going to sign anybody, Marvin Jones.
Marvin Jones.
Not too much on him. It's pretty straightforward. Browns need another receiver.
Yeah.
If they want to continue being possibly division champs and playoff contenders. So that's the Cleveland Browns. 3 players they must sign this offseason.
Yeah, Marvin Jones has been
The next team, this one, we'll go as fast as possible through the next team, the Bengals, because it's a little boring, if you will, because their biggest need is offensive linemen. So, and they need multiple. They don't just need one guy. They need multiple. So we'll just say the names and really who they played for, and then that's about it for Bengals. But Marshall Newhouse, veteran, like really good when he was in his prime. A little outdated, but he could continue. Ricky Wagner, Packers they just parted ways with him. He had a decent season, okay? And Russell Okung, veteran, used to be a Pro Bowler. He's great. If you want him on your team, he's a guy who flies under the radar a little bit, but is really good. So
yeah. Also, we have to put everyone knows that the entire offensive line has to be there, because I think everyone knew when Joe Burrow got drafted to the Bengals that he was gonna get clobbered by the defense. And he did, and he got injured.
The year with his torn ACL.
So they really have to support him if they want him to be the franchise quarterback for their team.
Something else is they're expected to draft that probably top 3 player in the draft in Penny Sewell as the lineman from Oregon. So that's also why. And that will wrap up the AFC North. And then we'll go east to the AFC East, where we start with the best team, one of the best teams in the NFL last year, and that's the Bills.
Yeah, the Bills.
Why don't you take the lead?
Okay, so starting with the Bills, here's their team needs: linebacker, center, and defensive line. We say these because, linebacker, sometimes their defense hasn't been too reliable on that side. D-line, they couldn't get barely any pressure this entire year on teams. That's kind of why they lost to the Chiefs. They didn't get barely any pressure on Mahomes the entire game. That's how the Buccaneers won the Super Bowl, actually, by getting pressure on Mahomes. And center, they just kind of their offensive line. If they want to support Josh Allen, their whole offense is based on passing. So I think if they have Diggs and Josh Allen, they can do something special. So first off, we'll go J.J. Watt. J.J. Watt would bring a lot of defensive pressure to quarterbacks that they go against. That could really be really be the difference when they probably face the Chiefs in the playoffs or another good team. We don't know what's going to happen in 2022, but he's a really big difference maker. He could probably get him to the Super Bowl if he plays like J.J. Watt. So we got Dion Dawkins. The next two players are both re-signs. We just say these guys because, well, they've been big parts to their team. They need to re-sign these offensive linemen for their team to work out in the playoffs. So Drew can take it away.
Yeah, and we'll go to the next team, the Dolphins. And the Bills, and the next team is the Dolphins, and quite possibly the biggest signing this is what they're expected. This is one of the ones where it's speculation, but it's a hair of expectation, there's evidence to suggest that he's gonna. So that's T.Y. Hilton signing. They need a wide receiver, a weapon for Tua.
Yeah, you could argue Devontae Parker is, but they need more than one threat for the So they need they just need one more threat than Devontae Parker if they want to make the playoffs, if they want to take it to the next level, and it's mostly about developing. If they want Tua to be their franchise quarterback, they need to give him weapons.
Yeah, it's obviously part of it was his fault, but part of it he didn't have many weapons.
Yeah, so we have next we have Justin Simmons. Actually, all of these signings for the Dolphins are going to be a pretty. I think they're all pretty big signings for them. So Justin Simmons, he's expected to be franchise tagged by the Broncos, but if he isn't, Justin Simmons would be an amazing threat on the defensive end for the Dolphins. They need that push at the safety position, and I think that he could provide that extra spark.
Mm-hmm.
So next we have KJ Wright, same thing. If he doesn't re-sign with the Seahawks, this is another possible team that he could bring veteran presence to. So, all right. Next up, we got the Patriots. Drew, you can take it away from that.
Okay, Patriots. Obviously, biggest. We mentioned this in a previous video. Dak Prescott, and a few minutes ago, J.J. Watt. But both of those guys, Pro Bowl talent, really good. If Dak comes to the Patriots, he's a franchise quarterback for the next 10 years, possibly. And he can deliver a Super Bowl. If you have both those guys, that's just Merry Christmas to you, because...
And the thing is, they can afford it. They have $70 million in cap. So,
yeah. And with all the cap going down and people having to pay less, both those guys would be able to get just as much. So, that final player, Juju Smith-Schuster, we're not even going to go into the details. You already know. He could sign. He's probably going to sign with the Steelers, but...
Yeah, they really need a wide receiver threat. Julian Edelman's been kind of on his downfall right now. Probably because Cam Newton was his quarterback, but we won't get into it that much. You saw, if you watch the Patriots, you know what we're talking about. They need a wide receiver. Pretty self-explanatory. So, that's the Patriots. These are all three big signings because theoretically, they could literally sign all three of these guys with how much money they have to spare. So.
So that's going to wrap it up with the Patriots. And now, before we go to the final team, and we won't really talk about it. We'll just show it when you see the video. We'll just be showing them because obviously if we talk about it, it could get a little boring talking about the same old players because there's a few renames. So we'll be back in a second after you see the few teams we came up with and all the players. So. So that was just the AFC South, kind of anticlimactic a little bit. So now we'll go to probably the most interesting division in football, and that's the AFC West. Obviously, the clear best team in the division is the Chiefs, obviously Super Bowl runners-up, and three other teams, Raiders, near playoffs, Chargers, and Broncos, kind of same level a little bit. But we'll start with the Chiefs. Their biggest need is they got a little exposed in the Super Bowl. They need an O-line. The O-line was awful in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Every single play, someone was getting through.
So yeah, let's go to the first player who we think should sign.
That would be Joe Thuney. He's a big name free agent this year as an O-lineman. And if they get him, that would be really good. Next to Eric Fisher, they'd be a really good offensive line duo. They'd be able to protect Mahomes, give him a little more time. Even with his ability to run out of the pocket, he'd still have a little more time. So that's the first player. And then next one, same on O-line, Cameron Fleming from the Giants. Free agent this year, he could sign. If he does, that would be decent. I wouldn't say he'd be instant, like great again on the O-line, but it would be pretty good for the Chiefs. And to wrap things up with the Chiefs, the final position is linebacker with Avery Williamson. This would be huge because if you look at Avery Williamson, his stat line with the Jets, and one game with the Steelers this year, he was averaging 10 plus tackles, and he didn't even play every snap. He's one of the best linebackers in football. And linebackers, it's a position that started to decrease a little, but he's up there. And him going to the Chiefs need linebackers as well. They can't stop no run at all. But with him, you'd have the ability to do that a little more.
Yeah.
So that's where we'll end the Chiefs.
Okay.
But the Raiders moving to Las Vegas this year their team got better. Still holes, and it's all in the defense because their defense, their cornerbacks struggled all year, and when they won games, they're giving up 35 points.
Yeah, so
They give up 32 points.
Yeah, I'll take it away.
Their offense is set. They just need maybe a little bit of offensive line.
Yeah, their offense is good, young. They got a good young core. They have Josh Jacobs, Derek Carr, and Henry Ruggs, Darren Waller too. Yeah, it's great.
And Henry Ruggs, obviously Ruggs can improve. So
yeah, so I'll take it away from here for the defense. And for the Raiders, we have first player. We have Everson Griffin. He's a defensive end. He didn't do much last year as he was signed by the Cowboys. Didn't do much for them. Then traded to the Lions at trade deadline. Didn't do much for the Lions either. He's mostly known for his career with my Vikings, the Vikings, and he was a really good defensive threat. I truly think that he's still pretty good. I just think he wasn't in the right systems. So if he gets on the Raiders, I think that could be a good signing for them. As Griffin he's a really good threat on the pass rush. He really helped us win that. There was a playoff game against the Saints, the second one in 2018, I think it was, or 19. Everson Griffin and Danielle Hunter, they really made a big difference on that game. If it wasn't for them, I think that we would have lost that game easily. But yeah, next we have Anthony Harris, another Viking. He didn't play good at all pretty much this past year, but before that, the year before 2019,
sky's the limit. Yeah,
he led the league in interceptions. So I think he would be a really good threat. He would be a good threat with it would be hard to throw it deep against him. I don't know. Well, we didn't really. Gary Kubiak wasn't a great defensive coordinator, so it might have been that was why he wasn't very good. But other than that, Anthony Harris, I think he could be a great signing. Last player, Shaquille Barrett for the Seahawks.
Oh, this would be huge. Honestly, if you're the Bucs, you're between franchise tagging Shaq Barrett and Chris Godwin. I'd make an argument that you should franchise tag Shaq Barrett, but at the same time, if Shaq Barrett becomes a free agent and you don't re-sign him, which it's a long shot, Raiders should be a front runner because Barrett is. You saw him in the Super Bowl what he did to Mahomes and the Chiefs' offensive line. He terrorized them.
Yeah.
He's getting through in a split second. He did that to every team he faced this year.
Mhm.
His swim moves and cutting inside, one of his signature moves is cutting outside and then quickly spinning in, which it takes a little more time, but he's so fast when he does it. And
yeah, it's a very he's a player that could instantly impact their defensive line. Well, not defensive line, I guess. Defensive rushers. And the Raiders could really turn into a threat if their defense can just pull it together against teams.
So, the Raiders, if they're able to do that, they'll end their playoff drought in a few years. Their defense. And our last two teams we'll go through are Chargers and Broncos. Chargers, first team, they need offense. You don't want to say offense and defense. They need spots from both, but mainly it's their interior offensive line and their linebacker core. Their interior offensive line it was awful this year. Part of the reason they couldn't hold on to leads, they'd get leads quickly in the first quarter, catch defenses off guard with Herbert, run the ball. But when all of a sudden your O-line gets tired and starts collapsing, and you have to put backups in for a few plays, they blew every lead. And Russell Coombe, so yeah. And so if Mike Upati, one of the guys we have here, he played for the Seahawks last year, former Cardinal, was great with Arizona. If you could turn him around and with great coaching, great organization in the Chargers, up and coming talent on the offense and defense, and Mike Upati is the guy you need, exactly who you need. If you want to be a playoff contender, which Chargers have struggled the last few years, he'd be the guy you need, and also another guy you need. It would be ideal, and it wouldn't be unreasonable for them to get both DJ Fluker and Mike Upati, but it would be really good for the Chargers. I mean, imagining Herbert under great O-line, obviously, and then Brian Boya on the other side, that would be perfect for the Chargers. They'd be able to pass on anybody, which is their strength. And over on the defensive side here, you take it away.
All right, yeah. On the defensive side, we have Sean Lee of the Cowboys. Cowboys defense was pretty atrocious this past year, but their linebackers weren't great, but Sean Lee, I think he's been great the years before, and I think his coverage skills are pretty good, and he has a sense for the field, and I think if the Chargers can get him, their defense is already pretty nice with Derwin James is going to be coming back this year, so or this coming year, I mean. So I think if the Chargers can get, I don't think they'll be able to sign all of these guys, but it's really they could probably get maybe Sean Lee and one of the offensive linemen or both the offensive linemen. So, yeah.
And the next team, yeah. So
the last team.
We'll head to our last team, kind of our last team. See why in a sec, but Broncos. I don't want to rip on anything they have problems. That'd be a different time to go on and on. John Elway, the talent he's brought in, it's been wasted since Peyton Manning retired. And if you're a Broncos fan, ask a Broncos fan their opinion. They would definitely want defense and probably a quarterback. But John Elway doesn't want to give him a quarterback. He probably doesn't even want to give him the whole defense. He wants to give him weapons as wide receivers. But so that's where we go to the first player who Broncos could sign, and that's Justin Simmons. They'd have to franchise tag him or re-sign him, but if they franchise tag him, that would be amazing. He's
expected.
He's one of the best players on their team.
Yeah, he's expected to be franchise tagged as well. Justin Simmons has been. They really need him at safety. So, yeah.
And Richard Sherman is another player who's a free agent for the first time in a while. If you sign Richard Sherman, I don't say Richard Sherman is done at all. If he's on the Broncos and they franchise tag Simmons and then sign Sherman, that's such a boost because then you have Kareem Jackson as well. Those three guys can carry your secondary alone.
Yeah.
Their defensive stats, they ranked late 20s in football this year with coverage, giving up over 60% of targets. So if you bring either one of those guys in, or even both, it's going to improve.
Yeah, Cam Newton now.
Expect goodness, feel like, yeah. And final player,
Cam Newton.
I can't even figure out why, but we have this feeling that he's gonna sign with the Broncos.
Yeah, John Elway. I'm pretty sure John Elway wants Drew Lock to be their quarterback of the future.
He's made an excuse in public that it's just they've had injuries. They haven't had too many weapons. That's just not true though, because he's given them all the weapons. Sutton used for a year. He obviously got injured. He's kind of right. But then you have Judy. Judy wasn't good this year at all until the last week. Who else? Hamler was really good in college. He wasn't great. He's giving them all the weapons. Broncos have wasted the weapons the past few years. That's why Emmanuel Sanders, he's a great wide receiver. He left. So
yeah, I think Cam Newton.
Expect.
Say what you want about Cam Newton, about how bad he was last year, but I think we just have a feeling for some reason that he's going to go to the Broncos because, well, Drew Lock has been. I don't want to get into what Drew Lock has been, but Drew Lock has been he hasn't been. He's shown good. He's shown greatness. He should not be a franchise quarterback. So Cam Newton has shown that he can be a franchise quarterback. I don't know what was up with him last year with the Patriots, but I think he can maybe turn his career around if he signs with these guys.
And that's where we'll wrap up the AFC North, AFC East, AFC South, and AFC West. So the whole AFC for today. We'll do part 2 weeks from today with the whole NFC and 3 players each of them will sign. And so by then, expect one or two of these guys that we mentioned today to be signed somewhere. But before we end the episode, we'll treat you guys to a brief discussion, with a minimum 5 minutes of a discussion about the Packers and Vikings. Next 2 weeks from today, we'll have each team, but we'll go into more depth of like 3 and why they need. But like right now, this is just for fun. We'll just go right into it.
All right. So who's gonna talk first? We'll take turns. I'll go first. We put by the way, we put up on screen these for each of us two players who are expected, who are free agents, who we would like to use.
High disclaimer. This is going to be opinionated right now.
Very opinionated. It's Vikings Packers. We're both okay. I don't know if this is your first video coming into it. I'm a Vikings fan. Drew's a Packers fan. That's why it's called Rivalz Podcast. So yeah. Also, I'm going to start it off. We're going to talk about Anthony Harris. Anthony Harris was supposed to be, after we signed him on a 1-year deal last year, he was supposed to be one of the best safeties in the league. He was supposed to be our defensive guy. Other like Harrison Smith and him were supposed to be just like one of the best safety cores in the NFL.
Yeah, clearly they weren't. So. And
okay, thanks, Drew. But anyway, we have Harrison Smith was okay at best, but okay, Anthony Harris was he was awful. I'm just gonna say it. He was awful, and I don't know if it's because of the coaching staff, or it's just because he just fell off a cliff. I don't know, but I do think that it may. But the problem with this is we either re-sign him, and we can afford to re-sign him, but we pretty much can't get anybody else, or we let him walk and we can get a few decent players. Here's my opinion.
What do you want the Vikings to do with Harris?
Okay. I personally, this is what my dream scenario in my head. We let Harris walk, we re-sign Eric Wilson, and we bring Everson Griffin back to Minnesota. That's my dream scenario.
But what about your secondary?
I just think, well, our secondary, well, maybe we sign.
Podcast, folks. Okay. So I'll go through it. So yeah, you mentioned your other player, Eric Wilson. Now Aaron Jones, they get one of the biggest free agents this year. News came out that he's working with his agent and the Packers organization to sign an extension, that would be amazing. I could go on and on and on and on about how great he is. He's the best player on our team. Not the best player, one of the best players on our team. He leads our running game. We haven't had a running back since I don't even know when. But if you let him walk, who do we have? We have Jamal Williams and A.J. Dillon. I don't see them as our starting running backs. Jamal Williams. And also we might not re-sign Jamal Williams. Then we just have A.J. Dillon. That leaves us in a hole, which I don't want to watch, but happened. So, and that's my opinion on those on that guy and other guys.
Okay, Aaron Jones. Hold on. I want to comment on something. Aaron Jones. I think he might. If the Packers, knowing the Packers organization, I feel like they might just not get a deal done or something, and he'll leave. But Packers are gonna find a way to screw things up. Go. They're gonna go sign Dak Prescott.
What quarterback can we trade for?
Okay. So now that was for Aaron Jones.
And Alan Lazard is the other. This one is less than Aaron Jones. We probably got Vikings first, but I want the Packers to re-sign him, not as a receiver. I like him as a blocker. If he switched to tight end, I'd be just as happy because he has really good, mad receiving skills. and he's one of our best blockers. He's one of the best receiving blockers in football.
I think he's gonna walk. I think Alan Lazard's gonna walk. Here's why. Here's why. Packers are gonna try and get probably J.J. Watt or something, and Alan Lazard's gonna not have enough money, or they're not gonna. Alan Lazard's gonna want more money because he's a quality receiver, and I think he's gonna walk, and because the Packers are gonna try and sign like J.J. Watt. So
yeah, exactly. And here
we have Eric Wilson.
Yeah, so
let me talk about Eric Wilson.
At least I was kind about the Vikings. But okay, we'll each take the next 30 seconds beyond the clock to 30 seconds, Noah, starting in 1 second, and we'll go here. Just a little background. We'll go into see. You have 30 seconds to see that what free agents you could sign for each team. So.
Whoa, to like what? Whoa, just to say. Okay.
Well, actually, no, we'll wait till next time.
We'll wait till next time. Right now, I just want to talk about Eric Wilson real quick. Eric Wilson came into we hadn't really played him at all. We drafted him the year last year-ish, I think. And Eric Wilson, we hadn't played him. We never played him. And here's what happened. Anthony Barr gets injured. And this guy steps in for him. I don't think anyone thought that he would be good at all. He comes in and he's just really decent. He's like a really good.
Wait. Okay, we'll wrap things up right there.
Whoa, he's a good coverage linebacker. We're gonna re-sign him. We're gonna re-sign him. Okay. We're gonna sign it off here.
We will see you next time.
We'll see you next time. We're popping up on screen. We're gonna have season 1. Our playlist of season 1 and our most recent video, which is going to be
And thank you for watching, and see ya.
We're going to see ya.